see it, you know, because why not? Because it's awesome. So that gives you a little flavor of what we have in the movie. Yeah. So one other thing too, I don't know if they were going to throw a slide up here for a second, but before we start taking questions, I should mention that, you know, the movie has a Facebook page, and if you go to that page, we're going to have a contest for some original fan art, and the art is going to be judged by, I think it's you and Tim? Yeah, so Tim and Timur are going to judge the best fan art, and we're going to win some kind of incredible prizes. You can see up here the details. But so if you want to submit your fan art, then check us out on Facebook. And so with that, I don't know. We should turn it over. Where are we taking questions from? If there's anyone with a question. Hello, questioners. Hello, masked cowboy.
Captain ComCon. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Captain.
Thank you. My question is, how do you take such random concepts? You got Abraham Lincoln and you got vampire hunters.
Sure.
How do you take that and make it such a badass concept? It looks amazing.
Thank you. It's really easy. I just get drunk by myself and throw darts at a wall until I hit two words that make no sense together, and then I write a book about it. This concept came out of the idea of Abraham Lincoln and vampires came out of going around the country on a book tour for Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. And never forget. They're not gonna like that. It was 2009, and it was the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. And so no matter where I was in the country, you would have two displays right in the front of every bookstore in the entire country. You would have an Abraham Lincoln biography display, and then you would have a Twilight display. And so rather cynically, I looked at this and I said, okay, well, if you could combine those two things, man, you'd really be onto something. So that was the cynical sort of beginning of the process. But what I did was I went and I researched the real life of Abe. And I think, like these guys will be able to tell you too, the more you read about the real Lincoln, the more you realize that his real life story is a superhero origin story. And that's what got me really excited about it. All the darkness he had to overcome, the death, what he had to do to pull himself up by his bootstraps and not only become the chief executive of the country, but save the country. So in that way, he is really the first and only American superhero that I can think of. Yeah.
My question's for Ben. This is the most unique take on Abraham Lincoln to hit theaters, I think. And so how do you approach him as a historical figure versus him as a vampire slayer?
Well, we did a lot of research, ironically, and there's a lot you can do. There's clearly a lot you can read about Abraham Lincoln. Like Doris Kearns Goodwin has a great book, but that book is really about his politics in the White House. That doesn't help us very much. So you look at literature like there's a book called The Melancholy of Abraham Lincoln, which is all about how he dealt with death and his depressive nature and his poetry, and that kind of gothic take on the research of Abraham Lincoln lends itself so nicely to what we're trying to do. I mean, he's really being honest. I mean, from the mysterious death of Lincoln's mother onward, it's really a period movie that just happens to have some vampires in it.
And what's crazy to me too is that then you have Timur, who, you know, you have a 19th century movie with an unquestionably 21st century, I think as you guys all saw, visual aesthetic to it. And that's something really cool. And I think people will come to this knowing it's going to be a kick-ass action movie, yes, but somehow subconsciously you're also be getting some strangely accurate history as you go along.
It's really not that far of a leap. I mean, he's one of our greatest American heroes. To see him as one of our greatest American action heroes is just right around the corner.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Ben. How does it feel to play the role as Abraham Lincoln in this movie?
Badass. I mean, he's a badass. It's an honor, as an American. He's somebody we all admire. And we want to, I mean, I won't speak for everybody, but as an American, I want to know that my leaders are strong and have the capacity to make hard decisions and cut some heads off.
Need some more decapitation in politics. Hello.
My name's Jesse, and I was wondering what it was like working with the visionary Tim Burton, and what were the discussions at the lunch table between you guys?
I think Tim is really important for this project. I mean, I think first of all he made the great movies inspired us to write this book too, because we grew up on his movies and it's his world too.
I think one of the big contributions that Tim made was protecting the idea that we wanted to do this unapologetically. You know, there's a version of this movie where, I mean, because look, the title, as we all know, is absurd. It's ridiculous. But we felt that because it's such an over-the-top, absurd ask of a title, you needed to do it in a very straightforward, dedicated way. You can never wink at the audience, not even once. You just have to go forward and say, no, we're doing this muscular, we're doing this aggressively, we're doing this straightforward, and we're not going to blink. And Tim really supported us in that and protected that vision from, I think, the very beginning of the movie.
And he had the balls to trust these guys. I mean, Tim Burton is so brilliant and has such a visual style, and he's such a talented storyteller himself. For him to have the courage to trust somebody else, that's pretty astounding.
It's a shame he's so sick, so ill. Everybody, give him your thoughts.
Thanks, Jesse.
Next question.
How's it going, guys?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well, actually. Thank you. Just want to let you know, question, of course. I work at the Disneyland Opera House featuring Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and your book is on our shelf, so...
My book is on the shelf?
Your book is on our shelf in our lead office.
That's awesome.
Yes! Victory is mine! Take that, Lindelof. Oh, what I wouldn't give to be dead, Lindelof.
So, how much research did you have to do before you actually started writing your book?
Quite a bit, because I wanted the history, especially in the book, because, you know, if you read the book, it's full of little footnotes and real pieces of actual history and real characters that come in and out of Lincoln's life. To me, it was the same as, you know, trying to get the language of Jane Austen right when you're trying to seamlessly integrate with Pride and Prejudice. The more absurd the project you're doing, the more dedicated you have to be to doing it well and doing it seriously, I think. So I did quite a lot of research. I read a lot of the same books that Ben did, that Timur did when we were making the movie, and mostly the very helpful things that were reading the letters that Lincoln wrote from loved ones and colleagues and things like that. So a lot is the answer.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.